Good evening, Student Senate. I hope you all are doing well tonight. I'm excited to begin our meeting this evening. So we are about to go ahead and get started. With that, I'm going to call this meeting of Student Senate to order. We forgo the Pledge of Allegiance when we're meeting over Zoom. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Speaker Pro Tempore Billman for first roll call this evening.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Maggie.
Thank you. All right. Atchison. Booth. Brown Alex. Has anyone said here so far yet?
I believe Booze did.
Great. Okay, cool. My volume was down. Brown Madison.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
Brummett. Bruno. Burke.
Here.
Carlson. Carr. Clements.
Here.
Colburn.
Here.
Cox. Croslow.
Crosslow's here.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Illavu.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
Frederick.
Senator Frederick is here.
Thank you. Gallardo. Garrett.
Garrett is here.
Thank you. Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gromas. Hamlin. Harmon.
Here.
Bird.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Hutchings.
Here.
Van Bunathan.
Jim Bunathan is here.
Johnson. Kidd.
Here.
Levi. Manners. McKee.
Here.
McVeigh. Muthu Kumar.
Here.
Knoll.
Here.
Norwood. Nunning.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Panikatu. Porter.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Rodriguez. Rossi. Schmidt.
Here.
Shunjay. Snyder Ben.
Here.
Snyder Blaine.
Here.
Vance.
Here by proxy.
Wallace. Ward.
Here.
Watkins. Wilcox.
Here.
Willis.
Here.
And Weinholtz.
Here.
Okay. Anybody in the chat that I missed?
Senator Rodriguez is here. Chair Rodriguez, excuse me.
Yes.
Maggie, I think you missed me, Cogstater Carlson.
Thank you, Cogstater Carlson. Any names in the chat that I haven't seen? Nope. Okay. With that, we have 35 senators present.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking roll call for us, Maggie. With that, we'll move on to our next item of business for the evening, which is open period. Our first open period speaker this evening is Sherry Crittenden with the K-State Office of General Counsel. So with that, I will turn it over to Sherry.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Speaker Bothwell, and for the Senate to invite me to speak. I think some of you have heard me speak before, and you might be tired of hearing my voice. Speaking of that, my voice, I've been speaking so much today. Forgive me, it's starting to wane, but it's an honor to come and speak with you. This is my 9th Zoom call of the day and my 3rd presentation. And I consider that, forgive me for you using the term, or I'll say I'm using the term, it's a blessing. Because with each conversation, I begin to learn more. And so I've been the general counsel at K-State for 8-9 weeks now. And one of the things I committed to doing is to listening. And so any opportunity that I get to listen and engage, especially with you, the students, which are, I think, the bedrock of the institution, is really important to me. And so I appreciate if when you hear my presentations, you hear me speak, to share with me your thinking and what you want to hear. If as I go through the presentation, it is a technical presentation. It is a literal interpretation of what a general counsel does, especially the public university. However, I told you all the meetings I had today and the conversations I had, and I just had one with a mentor of mine, a brilliant lawyer. He clerked for the Chief Justice of the 11th Circuit. He could have clerked at the Supreme Court if he had wanted to without family obligations. And he and I talked about what we do. And one of the things that we do as general counsels it's not just technical law, it's contextual. So the reason that I wanted to be a lawyer, not just a lawyer of a major corporation, but a lawyer in the higher education nonprofit space, is because the issues are broader. It's how do we help our clients achieve their mission? And yes, I am the lawyer for the university, that entity, right? Not even an individual, but the university could not exist but for you, but for the faculty. So in a sense, helping you, and you actually, in a reciprocal manner, helping me understand what the needs of the university are, what the mission should be, how it may be falling short, how it may be overachieving, if that's the case, for the experience that you have. This is your one time to have this experience, one time to be where you are. And understanding that for me in the early 80s, when I went to school, biggest thing was apartheid in South Africa. And we marched, we took over the president's office. We went to the student senate when we didn't feel that we were getting the funds that our student fees should have. I went to Syracuse. And so I somewhat understand where you are, but I did not have the proliferation of social media. I was fortunate. What happened at Syracuse on the quad or in Sadler, we called them dorms back in that day, residence hall, stayed there. It didn't snap for all over the world to see. So the pressures that you all are under, the experiences that you're having are unique. And then when you couple that with this scourge, as I call it, the pandemic, as well as the pandemic of the social unrest, it's challenging. So coming into Kansas, I took this job without ever being on this campus. I had come to Kansas 3 times before, but not to Manhattan. I'm from the Big Apple. So this is a departure for me, but it's a welcome one. So I give you that background. As I talk about this, yes, this technicality of what is the role of the general counsel, but I want to put it in context. My role, a unique role, a challenging role, is really to help the university achieve its mission. And it can't achieve its mission if it doesn't have the funding, if it doesn't have the enrollment of the students, if it doesn't have the faculty to be able to share the knowledge with the students, if it doesn't have the environment where students have equal access to their education, and not just the physical access, but the emotive access. And so I focus on the EQ, not just the IQ. And so my conversation today, I think I have about 10 or 12 slides are going to focus on that. Technical issue, am I driving this or is someone, I need to say next slide?
If you just want to tell me next slide, I can do it for you.
Well, I'll tell you next slide. So talking about the mission. As I see the mission of the role of the General Counsel is, again, and I'm not going to speak word for word, you can read that, but making sure that we provide the highest level of legal support. And the first rule of a lawyer is to be technically proficient. So you need to know the law, or you need to find out someone who does know the law that can help you. So sometimes that's in-house, depending on the bandwidth and the capacity of your office. Sometimes you go to outside counsel if they're at a firm. I have relationships across the country, so I have friends who are general counsels at major universities, and I may call them. I mentioned today I talked to a friend about their thinking on it. So that's the ultimate goal, is to the university is the client, but to do it in a way that's accessible, that's transparent, that people want to come to you to ask questions. Lawyers, however, are leaders, but they're not decision makers. So yes, we want to influence based on what we say the law is and to help inform policy. But we don't make the decisions. I tell my lawyers and the team, we don't drive the bus. We may tell you how fast you can drive. We may tell you, yes, you need to have a seatbelt. We may tell you that, you know, if you go blow past that stop sign, this may happen. But we don't make those decisions. We hope, though, we provide you with sage and cogent information so the university administration can make the best decisions. And I mentioned before the context of focusing on the broader issues. So to give you an example of what a broader issue has been a provocative piece is, we say that there is freedom of speech and we want to have freedom of speech. However, there's a segment of the population of the university that feels like, you know what, when we speak out, it is pushed aside. There are issues that try to squelch that, to have a chilling effect on that. But people that we feel are purveyors of hate, the first thing they get to say is, oh, it's freedom of speech. So it's uneven. We may say that, you know what, race-based scholarships are illegal, which they are not, but there's a very heightened scrutiny to have those. And so we say, you know what, we don't want to take the hard road. We're going to take the more easier road because we don't want to be sued. Those are two separate, distinct legal issues, but one drives the other because of people of any race, of any gender, of any religion, feel that they don't have a place here at K-State. They're not going to want to come and enroll. If they don't enroll, then we don't have the funding to be able to support the institution. We don't have the diversity of ideas that make this university great. If you don't have support in a way through scholarships because of past discrimination, then you don't draw people here who can afford to come here. So they're all connected. And so my goal is to show how these distinct and singular legal issues, how they connect, not only how they connect, but how they impact. And so that may be more challenging than just looking at the black letter of the law, but that's the goal of a leader, is to show what are the broad strokes and how they impact the entire institution. So yes, I help with the identification and the clarification and the resolution of legal problems in higher education. I see myself as a partner and to the executives, to the administrator, sharing my legal skills, the leadership skills, but you need to have a deep understanding of what is the entity, what is the institution trying to achieve? What's their mission, what's their vision, what's their goal? And so those are some of the things I say you have to have the wisdom, the intelligence, but the courage to make hard decisions and understanding the impact they may have overall, not only just on the university, the administrators, but on yourselves, on the students. We can go to the next slide. So current challenges, and these are, you know, if I had talked to you a year ago, I'd be talking very differently about the challenges. I'm not going to list them all, but will I say what I focus on? COVID, and more COVID. And there are issues of health and safety. The first priority of any institution, of any leader, of any executive is the health and safety of the citizens of the community. That comes paramount to anything. And so that could be from foreign invasion, it can be from a pandemic, it can be from domestic incursions, but that's the goal. And so that's the first thing. Class disruption. We know all of you, some of you have had your classes disrupted. We had to pivot to online to try to mitigate some of the risk. We've come back in a hybrid situation this semester. We're going to finish the semester. I know there's rumors out there that we're not, but we are. And we only can do that because of you. You've said, you know, I know this really sucks. I'm tired of wearing masks. I don't want to be distant. It's not in my nature. I want to engage. And we hope you're doing that in a very smart and thoughtful way. But because of the sacrifices that you've made, we've been able to continue to carry on the classes. And we hope after this weekend and next few weeks, keeping our fingers crossed that we won't have those spikes, but it's our intent to continue on with this semester as well as for next semester. So those are some of the things that we had to deal with COVID. Federal and state regulations. A lot of you may understand that we just went through a Title IX refresh to talk about how we provide due process, not only for those who make complaints, which you should if you've been sexually harassed, if you've been discriminated against, if you've been assaulted, you should, for men and women, but also for those who are accused, the respondent, because you are still innocent until proven otherwise or responsible in this case. So
it looks like your initial time has expired. Can I guess?
I had 5 minutes.
You had 10 minutes from the start. It looks like Chair Booz has moved to extend your time by 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Peter Phillips, are there any objections, anybody? Seeing none, you have 5 more minutes.
All right, let's go to the next slide. Actually, let's keep moving on since, forgive me. Let's go to the slide, go to the next slide. I'm gonna speak on this one and then I'm gonna wrap it up. These are the key things that I do. I advise, I counsel, educator, mediator. This session we're having right now, I consider put part of that as an education training and managing, administrating the office. Again, understanding the bandwidth we have, the matters that come into our office. I'm looking at my whiteboard right now. I have about 22 matters that I'm working on. And I just got notice of another emergency issue that I have to handle. So we're not in a steady state. We're always having new issues that come before us. I talked about what some of the big issues are. We have litigation, First Amendment, Title IX, employee litigation, and issues around COVID. And so I spend a lot of my time counseling and talking to clients about what these issues are, trying to keep them informed. And my goal is, one thing you have as a role as a general counsel, I'll say it 3 times, is judgment, judgment, and more judgment. And that comes from experience. That comes being successful, it comes in not being successful. So problem solving, figuring out what the issues are and being able to project what the issues might be. The last thing I'll say, other important role on here is, besides the training, the educating, and mediating, is building relationships. It's not just in a mass meeting like this, although I'm appreciative of it, it's one-on-one, stepping into the shoes of a student, a faculty member, administrator, and to understand what their issues are and how, as we as lawyers, as advisors, as mediators, as counselors, are able to help resolve it, to anticipate what the issues are, and what things that we can do through building relationships in order to create the community that you're all looking for to have. So I'm gonna stop there. I can be verbose in my apologies, but those are some of the more salient things that we as lawyers in-house at a public university focus on.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming tonight, Sherry, to speak about your office. I'm now going to open it up for questions from the body. However, I do want to preface this with a bit more than I usually do. We appreciate General Counsel coming to speak tonight, but they're not here to provide us legal advice this evening. Sherry is with us to tell us about her office and what she does and her role on campus. So I invite anyone to ask questions, but I'm going to add a bit of a qualifier for the speaker this week in that please try not to ask any questions that are directly asking SGA like what we should or should not do in regards to a specific issue. She's not with us tonight for that specific thing, and there's a lot of just like professional etiquette that lawyers have when following that. So with that, I'll open it up. If anyone has any questions, please indicate so in the chat and I will call on you. Chair Booz, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I do.
Okay, good. Because I was quiet earlier, apparently. Yeah, but thank you for coming in. I wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit more about your office and your support staff. Like, you know, do you have other lawyers working with you as well, or
Oh, yes.
that sort of thing? Good.
Yes, we're a staff of 5 lawyers and currently 1 paralegal. I'm in the process of looking to hire 1 new executive assistant. And hopefully, because we've had budget cuts, every department has had to take a haircut, and I wasn't exempt from that. So I'm looking at ways to increase our bandwidth. There's a program called Equal Justice Works that's underwritten by major law firms, where attorneys, diverse attorneys, or attorneys interested in working in nonprofits or for tax-exempt organizations like universities can come and work as a fellow and help review and advise and actually end up writing a white paper on a pointed issue of law. So I'm looking at other ways in which I can get help. I'm also, because of the relations I have with a lot of firms out of Washington, D.C., which is where I live the preponderance of my life, I've been offered some pro bono work. So there's some firms I'm looking to be able to do pro bono, or what we call low bono work, on specific issues that we may have.
Cool. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Speaker Pro Tempore Billman.
Hi, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. I've learned a lot. I was wondering just like how you chose K-State. You know, you said you grew up in the Big Apple, so how did you end up here, and what makes you stay?
The mission and the impact. That's my, I told you I can be verbose. When I met President Myers, and I know this is prosaic, but he had me at hello. You know, I thought, okay, and I'm just gonna be frank with you. I thought, okay, I'm the affirmative action candidate. They so glad they got somebody. I'm a woman, I'm African-American, I'm Latina, I check all the boxes, and they're gonna end up hiring someone else. But I came in with my A game. And when I met the team and saw the commitment they have to the university, when I saw the quality of the courses that they have, I saw the quality of the students, and this is the team that I would work with, who are very collaborative, I said, this is where I want to be. And I saw the impact that they've had in the community, as well as nationally. It didn't matter the location, right? It mattered who the institution was and is. And going through such a difficult and unprecedented and uncharted time, I thought, okay, I've helped institutions like this. Now, I've never been through a pandemic, but I've helped institutions like this, and I think the skill sets I have will bring to bear. So I didn't care if it was in Manhattan. A lot of my friends think I've gone a little middle-aged crazy, but I love it, except for the shopping. We could do with a Nordstrom, but besides that, I find it very, very enjoyable.
Are there any other questions at this time? I actually have one myself that I wanted to ask. Specifically, I was pre-law for a while and not anymore, but I really just wanted to ask like why law, and like why you kind of ended up going that direction at all. You mentioned your undergraduate career a bit, So I'd just be curious to hear a bit more about that.
I was going to be in marketing. Well, first I was going to be a journalist. So I was in the School of Newhouse at Syracuse. Then I was going to be a marketing exec. And then I was going to work on Capitol Hill and policy. And all of those, and I actually did, I worked for Xerox in marketing. But all of those issues to me came to bear, and the law kept calling me. To me, it's a way that I can make a long-lasting change. It's an effective mechanism. You don't actually have to practice law, but I enjoyed the training of how to think critically on both sides, or three sides, or four sides of an issue. I enjoyed the intellectual heft of reading cases and the historical part of it. And I enjoyed helping, I'll tell you this quick story. I grew up in Brooklyn. When my grandfather died, he didn't pay his taxes and we lost our home. And as a result, we had to move up to upstate New York. And that left an imprint on me. I said, no one's gonna take anything else from my family again. That same house we lost is worth 300 to 400% times what my grandparents paid for it back in the 1920s today. So that's wealth that didn't transfer to my family. And so the law, I saw a way to protect wealth, not only just to gain wealth, but also to make a difference. Whether it's through legislation, I lobbied on Capitol Hill underneath the Bush and Obama administrations. So it's a way to make social change, economic change, and it's an opportunity to be able to work in so many different facets. Being in-house, I work with finance, I work with scholarships, I work with research, I work with athletics. So it's a way to have a vertical and horizontal view through an organization and to help the organization sustain and grow and thrive. And so because of all those things is why I continue to have a passion for the law.
Thank you so much.
It's not perfect, but we work really hard to help it get there.
I really appreciate that. That was very interesting and so cool to hear. So thank you so much. Are there any other questions right now?
If not, I have one. Oh, sure.
Oh, there's another one. Andrew, you can have the floor.
Yeah, I guess to tie it back to SGA, I mean, we're obviously working in a law-ish area, in an area where we might be constrained a little bit. So if we end up working on something that we feel like may need legal advice, how would we get in touch with you? And I know you have also other important things to do as well. So
no, we prioritize, yeah, and we do. And so the best way to get a hold of me, there's two ways. One, I know I'm going to get myself in trouble for doing this, but I'm going to give you my cell phone. And you can reach me via I'll put it in the chat. I have no problem with that. If I get some crazy calls, I know where to come. And you can also email us at attys@ksu.edu. It's my goal, no matter how long I'm here, I plan to be here for the long haul, is to see how we can be of service to this organization, but to student body at large. Again, we legally represent the university. However, your issues are our issues. And so I want to work as collaboratively as I can with you to help that. We may not be able to advise you, but we can direct you to someone that can. So that's my question. And I know it's late, so I won't take up a lot of your time, but I'd like to hear, if not tonight, what are some of the pressing issues that you think that we can be helpful with? I know one is First Amendment and freedom of speech and hate speech. And that's something that we're continuing to mine and figure a way to, one, present it, I think, in a way that's not such a technocrat way, but to open it up so you can hear all voices about that issue. But I know there's others. And so we'd love to hear about what your pain points are. What don't you like about being at K-State that we can do anything about? What you do like, wish we were doing more of? What your vision is for coming and being here, and how our office can support you in that. That's something we would enjoy hearing.
Well, actually, I think this is a way to maybe make our Zoom a little bit more interactive. I would encourage anyone right now, if you have any issues that you'd maybe like the Office of General Counsel to be aware of, I'd invite you to type those into the chat right now. I think this is a great way for us to maybe offer some live feedback at this point in time. So if you have anything that maybe you'd like to make their office aware of, to let them know that students have, like legal concerns about, you're invited to put those into the chat at this time. So I'll give a few seconds for anyone who'd like to type anything in.
Pro Tem Billman, I'm going to put my cell phone in here. And if anybody wants it, you can feel free to share it with them.
Thank you. I'll add that to the minutes.
An email. Now, don't send me anything crazy. I'm from Brooklyn, I told you. I would love to hear from you.
It looks like Caucus Leader Carlson has one other question. Bryn, you can go.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming in. I'm a student athlete on the volleyball team here, and I'm also our SAC president. So I'm just curious, I know that athletics and campus are sometimes pretty separated from each other. I'm just wondering how much interaction you tend to have with athletics with that separation.
That's a good question. I actually went over to Vanier the first time yesterday and spent a few hours just walking the halls and as much as I could and talking to the AD and some of the coaches. I know they're getting ready for a football game on Saturday. It's going to be on Fox, so they're excited at 11 o'clock. I'm a big football fan. And so when I played basketball, I was a walk-on my first year at Syracuse and played in high school. So for me, athletics is very important. I didn't have time to go through it, but some of the issues where COVID was impactful and where I plan to have a footprint is in 4 or 5 areas, and athletics is one of them. One, I believe, because that's where our greatest risk as a university is. Two, that's where our source of, I'm going to use the right word, but exposure as far as to the community and the greater nation because of the incredible athletes that we have and the work that you do every day to be a student and an athlete. 3, there's a lot of change happening in the Big 12 as well as the NCAA that it will have import on how we engage. So to answer your question, we do have a lawyer over there 2 days a week. Actually, he has an office over there. I told the AD and the coaches that I plan to come to their Monday morning meetings. I can't make it every Monday, but at least once or twice a month. So I plan to have my ear on the ground. So that's a connectivity. Athletics is important, not just because it's sexy and it's on TV and all that. It's important because we have risk there. So as a lawyer, I think about that, but it's also important because you're ambassadors for the university. And so it's important that we understand your needs. I understand that some of the student athletes are going to demonstrate some feelings on Saturday, and I support that and celebrate that and honor that. Not everyone is as supportive of that as I am, not at the university, but in the community. So it has impact with alumni, with media. So I want to make sure the athletes are protected and that they're not in harm's way because they express their First Amendment right as any student. And so, and make sure it's an enjoyable experience. So athletics is an important part of the university. Even though legally, our relationship is more closely related for a legal term, but as far as the university, we're one institution.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
With that, I'm going to have this be the final call for questions right now, just to make sure that I didn't miss any. Seeing none. Thank you so much for coming tonight, Sherry. We really appreciate you sharing. I found this really fascinating and really interesting, and I hope that everyone else did as well. So thank you so much for stopping by our meeting and being willing to share more about what you do.
Sure. And again, if there's a need, if you have a question, please, if you want to do it offline, please feel free to reach out to me and hope you invite me back and maybe some of the other members of my team and we can talk about things. Last thing I'll say is we plan to have some sessions about major issues, Title IX, freedom of speech, other issues, conflict of interest. So we plan to collaborate with other units of the university. So if there's an opportunity for us to collaborate with you and in putting together presentations, we're very much welcome to it.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you all. Have a safe and good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
With that, I just want to make sure, are there any other open period speakers this evening? Seeing none, we'll now move into approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? They were distributed at the end of last week. I would seek a motion right now. If someone wants to put so moved. Caucus Leader Phillips moved to approve the minutes. It was seconded by Caucus Leader Diaz de Leon. Are there any objections to that motion? Seeing none, the minutes will stand approved. Next up for our meeting tonight is announcements. Moving down to announcements, we have first, SGA is currently searching for candidates for the position of Elections Commissioner. That application closes tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. and interviews will be this coming Saturday. We will schedule them directly with you to work with your schedule. So if you're interested in that position, please fill out the link right there. Remember, Elections Commissioner is one of the few positions in SGA that you can have while simultaneously holding another position. Another just general reminder, the SGA intern program has begun meeting. I just saw Hannah log on a second ago. So if there's any interns in Wildcat Chamber, hello. I put the links on the agenda right here so that if you're like signing up to attend a meeting or if you know someone who would be a good fit for the intern program, feel free to nominate them. Third for tonight, Wildcat Dialogues, which is an intercultural leadership experience for first-year students, is looking for facilitators. If you're interested in helping students through this conversation, please sign up at the link that's included there on the agenda. Also, side note, I'm actually got invited to speak at Wildcat Dialogues, so if you go, you'll get to hear me speak, which is really cool. So I'd encourage anyone to go to that as well. Next up, proxies for tonight are Croslow for Shunjay, Diaz de Leon for Brummett, Grills for McVeigh, McKee for Grolms, and then I have three more that didn't make it onto the agenda, but that's Windholtz for Vance, Muthu Kumar for Panikatu, and Manners for Atchison. 5, the SGA Member of the Week is our Communications Director, Lux, for her great work on improving the SGA social media pages and working to promote events in SGA. Director Lux has created a whole bunch of different graphics and advertisements that have really helped us share our work with the student body. So Marissa, thank you for everything that you do. We really appreciate it. I do want to say that she really has made an impact. We actually had over 50 applicants for at-large committee positions, and it's pretty typical for us to only get 40. And given the fact that we have COVID, I think that a lot of that like high applicant rate can really be traced back to like a lot of the work that Marissa's done on helping us advertise. So thank you so much, Marissa. We appreciate all the work that you do. You can see our upcoming events on the calendar down below. And then the quote of the week this week is "Be the change you want to see happen" by Arlene Lawrence. I wanted the quote of the week to "Be the change you wish to see in the world" by Gandhi, but it turns out Gandhi never said that quote after I did a bit of research. I thought that I'd want to share that with everyone, but that cannot be attributed to Mahatma Gandhi. With that, we'll now move into the next item of business. We have no commendations this evening, so we'll move down to approval of appointments. That will be Resolution 2021-16. Can I get a motion to consider Resolution 16? If I can get a so moved in the chat, that'll be good enough. Moved by Caucus Leader Diaz de Leon, seconded by Senator Croslow. With that, we're now considering Resolution 16. Will the author please come forward?
All right. Resolution 2021-16, and by recommendation of Honor Council student member appointments by Andrew Booz, Nathan Bothwell, and Tal Whitmer. Whereas the Kansas State University Student Governing Association should uphold its legislated obligations. Whereas KSU-SGA sanctioned the implementation of the current K-State Honor and Integrity System in Bill 969776. Whereas an older version of the Honor and Integrity System Constitution is available in Section 60-02 of the KSU-SGA statutes, while a current version is available on the Honor and Integrity System website. And whereas both versions state that undergraduate student members of the Honor Council must be recommended by the student body president and approved by Student Senate. Be it resolved that Section 1, the Kansas State University Student Governing Association recommends the following student member appointments to the Honor Council pending approval by the provost. College of Agriculture, 4 positions. I'm not going to read like the one needed, but it is important to note that there are a lot needed. So if you want to apply, let someone know, I guess. So Josephine Ghani, Emily Smart, Brooks Nichols, College of Agriculture, Planning and Design, Grant Pazowitz, nobody for College of Arts and Sciences, College of Business Administration, Seth Sederek, College of Education, nobody, College of Engineering, nobody, College of Health and Human Sciences, Madeline Baumgartner, College of Technology and Aviation, which is Salina, Christian Coker. And Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Director of the Honor and Integrity System, Camilla Roberts, University Provost Charles Tabor, and University President Richard B. Myers.
Are there any questions or corrections for Chair Booz about this legislation? Seeing none, as this is an approval of an appointment that we are making, we can unanimously approve it right now. So I'll now seek a motion to unanimously approve Resolution 16. Moved by Chair Brown. Is there a second on that motion? Seconded by Caucus Leader Clements. Are there any objections to approving Resolution 16? Seeing none, Resolution 16 will stand approved. Thank you. With that, we'll now move into committee reports for this evening. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Chair Brown, you have the floor, and I will get your presentation pulled up right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan. Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a nice Thursday. I am going to give a presentation today on privilege fee and some changes that we're having in the process because we recently enacted the insufficient funds process again. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, Nathan. So just for general privilege fee overview, it's a fee that every student pays each semester. It's actually based off of how many credit hours you're in. So if you're in 6 or more credit hours, you'll be paying the full privilege fee of $472. And then if you're in less than 6, you'll be paying like a prorated fee, which is very important as we go into some other topics today concerning a lot of classes moving online. So it's based off of student enrollment and is $472. You can go, Nathan. So here's an overview of our entities, privilege fee funds areas such as Lafine, the Union, Recreation Services, as well as some bonds. If you wouldn't mind going to the next one. So the bonds are a large part of the privilege fee budget. You actually pay over $100 of that $472 in bonds for the Union and Rec. So it's about $3.6 million that we pay for it that we can't change. And so we're required to overcharge students for their bond fees, and this excess money will go into our bond surplus account. So this is an account that currently has around $4.9 million in it and is typically like to be used for additional projects. We've done things such as fund Cat's Cupboard with it, but sadly, because of decrease in enrollment and loss of revenue the past few years, we have had to utilize this bond surplus fund as essentially we have to take money out of it in order to cover the deficits that we have. So it currently has $4.9 million in it. We are legally required to keep around $2.5 million in it to make sure that we would never default on our bonds, but we try to keep a lot more in there because 2.5 is the absolute bare minimum that we can have. So going on to our current financial situation, we are expecting that we will have, for the privilege fee, a deficit of around $2.5 to $3 million for this fiscal year 21. So fiscal year 21 started July 1 and will go to next July. And because of this, we are going to have to drastically decrease our budget, because if we take $2.5 to $3 million out of bond surplus right now, we would be hitting that minimum. And that is something that we do not want to do. And we don't want to get close to our bond surplus minimum. So because of that, we have decided to enact the insufficient funds process, and we will be cutting around $1 to $1.5 million from our fiscal year 21 budget, which is the budget that we have for this year. If you wouldn't mind going on, Nathan, thank you. This is the insufficient funds clause that you might have seen this past spring. This was something that was added into half of the contracts through the last review cycle. And then whenever we enacted this process this spring, we added it into the rest of the contracts. It essentially says that entity directors will submit impact statements to us. Those will then be reviewed by student body president, privilege fee chair, and speaker. And they will give a recommendation to the privilege fee committee for a new budget, and then that will be brought to Senate. So this fall, the process is going to look a little bit different than the spring. Whenever we did this process in the spring, we decreased around $300,000 from our base budget, which was really good. We were taking proactive steps, but sadly it was not enough. And so we are going to be focusing on making very targeted cuts. So that means that we have actually created a tiered system that the privilege fee committee came together with, and we will be we'll basically be doing pretty heavy cuts based off of our priorities. So some of the priorities we talked about were preserving employment. We really don't want to have anyone to lose their job due to this, but that is a possibility because it's a very large deficit we're receiving. And then protecting student health and well-being. So I'm going to go over the tiers right now. We asked that everyone submitted different impact statements, or like impact statements with different possible funding budgets or percentage decreases based off of what the committee decided. So Lafine Counseling and the union will be submitting impact statements with the effects of a 1% decrease, 3% decrease, and 5% decrease. And we don't have to stick to these numbers. It's just the range of cuts that we were considering for them. If you want to go on to tier 2, Nathan. Here are the tier 2 entities. They'll also be submitting 5, 10, and 20%. And then if you'll go over to tier 3, please. Tier 3 will be submitting 20 to 40 and 60%. So these are pretty high numbers. And I know in previous years, we've never cut entities to anything close like this, but we will be looking at probably cutting some entities up to 60%, as well as possibly completely removing funding for some entities based off of how impacted their operations are due to COVID. So that is something that will be happening within the next few weeks. The privilege fee committee will be reviewing this, and then it will be brought to Senate and voted on by all of Student Senate. We'll be doing one big bill like was done in the spring that will basically redo all of the fiscal year 20 funding. You can go on to the next one, please, Nathan. And so that's the end of the presentation. I know that was a lot of information, so if there's any areas that I can clarify, please feel free to ask questions.
Are there any questions for Privilege Fee Committee Chair Madison Brown right now? Senator Grills.
So I know in the privilege fee meeting, we talked about asking them to, submit reports about how much students are using their entities. Did we do that this time, or are we still waiting on that?
Like, are we still waiting on that information?
Like, did we already ask them for that?
Yeah, that was something that was included in the general impact statement kind of request. But then also we do have the opportunity to follow up on any of those if we would like more specific numbers.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions for Chair Brown? Any questions at all? Chair Colburn.
Yeah, I guess I'll turn on. I guess how much are you looking to cut? Like, I know you want to keep as much as possible in bond surplus, and I know it's like hard before you start the process, but I guess maybe an easier question is like, in your mind, what's the like bare minimum that you want to keep in bond surplus? Not the legal minimum, like the actual.
I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to answer your first question. Since bond surplus is still fluctuating with money in and out of it, it's kind of harder to get a bond surplus amount, but we are looking to cut the budget by 1 to 1.5 million. And ideally, we would not be taking any more than 1 million out of bond surplus.
Are there any further questions for Chair Brown? Seeing none, if I can just add a bit of like information and historical context. Over the past few years, it hasn't been uncommon for SGA to have a deficit at the end of the year. But for a bit of perspective, over the past few years, our deficits have been between about $150,000 to $300,000. So we're currently looking at a deficit between $2.5 to $3 million for this year, which is about 10 times higher than what we've ever faced before in the past. And I can confidently tell you all right now that this is the worst budget crisis in the history of student government and the privilege fee. It has never been this like short before at all. And I say that to like, mentally prepare all of you that when we vote on some of this stuff in a few weeks, these will be some of like the highest budget adjustments in the history of like student government that have ever been faced. So I really encourage you all just, ask questions, to participate, to engage with this, because as far as I'm aware, historically, like this is, a pretty big deal that we're dealing with right now and will allow for a significant amount of student input on some really tough issues right now. So I just encourage you all to stay engaged with this topic as it comes up within the next few weeks. So with that, are there any other committee chairs who would like to give a report this evening? Senator Porter asked if there was a place to find this information, or like if the presentation would be posted anywhere. Madison, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, I will post it on OrgSync or Org Central, whatever it's called. I'll go look at the file. It should be under, and I'll send it in the chat in a second.
Okay, so pay attention to the chat. It looks like Madison will be updating us shortly with where it is. Great question, Senator Porter. Thank you. Are there any other committee chairs who'd like to give a report right now?
Hey, Nathan, can I ask a question? I don't know if you saw my chat.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you can go. I did not see that. I missed that. My bad.
That's okay. I've been trying to think about how to make this not a hypothetical question. How will the budget changes impact future years of privilege fee?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So we are going to be looking at changing the budget for fiscal year 21 in this process, which means that we actually will be asking for money back. On July 1, all the entities got their dollars distributed to them, and so we will actually be doing a process similar to university callbacks, where we're requiring them to return money to us. That is only going to be for this fiscal year, so their budgets and years going forward will technically be the same, but I will say this year's problem ties into a lot larger problem we have of overspending. With the large decreases in enrollment that we've seen, we have not decreased our spending to keep up with that. So we've been having a $300,000 to $400,000 deficit every single year. So going forward for the next 3 years and on, the Privilege Fee Committee will be looking at drastically decreasing the budget, because regardless of COVID, we have kind of been spending more than the revenue that we're making. As well as, sorry, did you have a follow-up for that?
Yeah, but you can keep going.
As well as I'm going to say, there might be some changes because entities are probably going to have to decrease their operations because of this year, because of the funding decreases this year, but also decreases going forward possibly.
Can I have my follow-up, Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So basically after, just to clarify, after this year and like the callbacks, they'll return to their normal contract or budget that we've given them in the past.
Correct, yeah.
Thank you.
With that, I just want to do one last call. Any other questions about Privy really quickly? Seeing none, Chair Booz, you can have the floor for your report.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a very, very short report to remind people if you're interested in elections reform, to check in at 8 p.m. on Mondays over Zoom. And so, I've got different members of the committee working on instant runoff voting, working on changing the mandatory meeting into maybe a non-synchronous format for election, changing the election dates, and then mandating that the elections committee organize a student body presidential debate. And so if you're interested in any of those topics, either email your thoughts to a member of the committee or come to the committee meeting at 8 p.m. And so you can email me to get that Zoom link. Thanks.
Are there any questions for Chair Booz?
Well, Michael mentioned I should mention the members of the committee. Is that correct?
It looks like it, yes.
Yeah. So that would be Billy Croslow, Brenda Hurd. I can't necessarily bring up a full member list off of the top of my head, so let me pull it up. Yeah, Brenda Hurd, Anna Schmidt, Bryce Atchison, Cash McVeigh, Michael as the parliamentarian, and Morgan Garrett.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. Any extra questions for Chair Booz? Seeing none, thank you so much, Andrew. With that, are there any other committee chairs who'd like to give a report? Seeing none, we'll now move into directors' reports. Are there any directors who would like to give a report this evening? Communications Director Lux, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. I just had a quick update about headshots. I talked about those last week. And so we do have a week blocked off. It'll be September 21st through the 25th. I'll be giving more details. We'll send out like a sign-up sheet. But for those, it's just like business professional, K-State casual, however you want to look for your headshot. And they'll only be like 10-minute time slots, so it won't be too much of your time. But that sign-up will go up next week. It'll be sent to you. And then Wildcat Watch recently asked me, and they're interested in doing partnership with SJ. And so if you are looking for a leadership position, or if you want to just be more involved, maybe you're an intern, I think this would be great. So let me know if you're interested in video, or you just want a position to be kind of the head person with Wildcat Watch. Let me know. And then just remember to follow all of our social media accounts. And with that, I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Communications Director Lux? Seeing none, thank you, Marissa, for your report. Are there any other directors who'd like to give a report this evening? Speaker Pro Tempore Billman, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. This is really exciting. I am going to try to bring back Senate shoutouts. So right now, I just sent a link in the chat. If you just click on that, it'll take you to a Google form. And just type out your little note in the box. Make sure you write who it's for in that box. You don't have to put your name on it. I won't say who it's from. But like some fun things you can shout people out for are like good work you see them doing, if they asked a cool question that you thought was like interesting and sparked conversation, if you saw someone debate on something, or like I think last year Chair Booz got asked to prom by Senator Glasscock about 5,000 times. So if we want to bring that back, go for it. I will read them during second open period, and it's a fun time. So please fill out the form. Thank you.
With that, are there any questions for Speaker Pro Tem Billman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Are there any other directors who would like to give a report? President Whitmer, you have the floor.
All right. I want to update you all on some things that have happened this week. So on Tuesday, Faculty Senate moved forward and voted to approve an academic calendar for the spring semester. This calendar effectively moves what would have been our originally allocated time for spring break to the end of our winter break. So we would be starting a week late, or a week later than we would have been on January 25th, and I believe ending on May 14th. So that was the proposal that they voted for to approve. And then there's a few of us in this body that are working with the provost, and we'll be working with administration and the Kansas Board of Regents to advocate for at least 2 single day breaks for mental health. So that's what happened this week. And then please continue to encourage students on campus and residence halls that you know, if they're getting reached out to by the university for surveillance testing, please encourage them to volunteer for that effort, so that we can get an accurate read of students who are positive or negative or asymptomatic on our campus. That's crucially important. So please encourage everyone you know to do that. Other than that, met with Kansas Board of Regents today and other student body presidents, and we had a nice dialogue about ideas and things for the future regarding access to mental health care services and healthcare services in general for students. So lots of ideas discussed. Love to talk to anybody more on that one-on-one, but that's all I got for you.
Are there any questions for President Whitmer about his report? Seeing none, are there any other directors who would like to give a report this evening? Seeing none, I have a short report that I would like to give this evening. A few weeks ago at our first Senate, I told all of you that I was interested in doing like a leadership lecture series this fall, and I'm happy to announce that the first installment of the leadership lecture series will be tonight. So it's going to be like, these are going to be short, kind of brief little discussions. I'm hoping to make them a bit more interactive than some other meetings, but I'd like to spend my director's report this evening introducing an idea to you all, and hopefully you can walk away with something interesting to think about because of it. So with that, I want to introduce a quote to this body and get what everyone's thoughts are about this. So earlier this evening, I mentioned what I wanted the quote of the week this week to be, and that was this quote: "You must be the change that you wish to see in the world." Quick little check, do the raise hand feature right now if you have heard this quote before. Can I do a little mental check right now? Who is familiar with this quote? I'm seeing a decent amount of hands raised up and down across the board. It seems like people are familiar with this idea. So yeah, this is a pretty common quote. Again, like I said, I learned earlier, it's often attributed to Mahatma Gandhi. Never said such a thing. He said something kind of similar, but that's a misattribution. So that's really interesting. I found out when I was researching for quote of the week. So it's not by Mahatma Gandhi. But I think this quote is really interesting. And I heard this idea at the Hobie Leadership Seminar. Both Speaker Pro Tempore Billman and I attended it earlier this summer, but I really wanted to introduce this idea to you all. And that is, I think this quote is really interesting because of the verb that is used in this quote. So can I get someone to unmute right now and tell me, like, what is the verb in this quote? Like, what is the thing it's telling us to do? Anyone, feel free to unmute.
To be.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tempore Billman. So this quote is really interesting because it's using the word be. And I think that oftentimes a lot of quotes that we hear are like much more action driven. But this quote in particular is really interesting because it's telling us that we have to be something. And be is a really interesting verb because the word that I heard used to describe it was that be is non-transferable. So you can't have some other thing be for you, right? Like if I need someone to do a task for me, if I need someone to like chair the meeting for me, chair being the verb in this sentence, Pro Tempore Billman could chair the meeting for me, but she can't be for me, if that makes sense. It's something that only me, like only you as an individual are capable of doing. And I think that's really interesting because there's a lot of, phrases and quotes and things that are inspiring us to action, but this quote right here is a bit different. It's not inspiring us to action, it's telling us that we have to be something and we have to embody something. And I think that's really important in terms of leadership, specifically because I think it's really important for us all to remember that we have to be, when we want something to happen, when we want there to be change in the world, it is only us who is capable of doing it. And I think that's a really important takeaway to keep in mind. Like a scenario that's really easy to picture, for example, is if you think of like a middle school or a high school, and you think of, the classic story of like someone sitting alone. Haven't we all like been in that scenario where we've seen that happen before? And don't you wish that like someone would go help that person, right? Like someone should go sit with them. There's a problem, someone should go do something about that. Like that fictional person, someone, like, can I be honest with you all? Like someone doesn't exist. There is no person out there on this planet who's going to go do that task or fix that thing. Like someone is a horrible person and they're never going to accomplish any of those things. I think as leaders, we often see and notice problems happening in this world. We often wish that someone would do something about them. I think that right now here in student government, it's really easy to wish for someone to go do something about all these problems that are happening in the world, happening at K-State, happening on our campus. But let me tell you, nobody's going to step up and do them. You have to be the person to step up and do them. And I think that's a really important and critical idea to remember. I've actually had interactions with people over my years in SGA who, have sent me an email or told me in conversation, oh, like, I really, really hope that, someone can do this. I'm so busy right now. I don't have time to do this. Someone needs to do something about this project, about this idea, about this issue. Let me tell you all, like, I wish I could do everything, but I am one person. I have other clubs, other organizations, and a lot of other stuff that I do. When I hear a cool idea from someone in this body, I'm like, awesome, like someone should go do something about that. But I can't do it all on my own. I don't expect any one of you to do it all on your own either. So that's where it leads us back to this quote. You must be the change you wish to see in this world. I think it's really important to remember that as we're moving through this year right now, that you should really be cognizant and keep in mind that any change you want to see, any ideas that you have, like if you want someone to do something about it, it's got to be you. And I think that motivation is like one thing that I really hope to inspire and like kick off in all of you right now. I know it's scary, I know it's tough, and I know it's challenging, but that's why there's those of us here to support you. Like we want to help you through this process. But if you think there needs to be a change in something, you have to be the one to do it. So with that, and that kind of concludes like the little idea that I wanted to introduce for this evening. Are there any questions about that at all right now? Well, I hope you're all feeling inspired. I hope you're all feeling pumped up. With that, The next item on our agenda for the evening is college caucus time. This is going to probably be one of the more involved college caucus times that we have for this semester. But I just kind of want to introduce what we're doing right now and let you all know what's about to happen. So right now, President Whitmer and I are co-chairs of the Tuition and Fees Strategies Committee. And so this committee is really cool because it reviews all the different fees that each specific college has during the year, and it's made up of representatives from each one of the academic colleges. Students applied to be on this committee through the at-large committee application, which opened earlier, like a month ago, and closed at 5 p.m. tonight. And I've emailed either like the caucus leaders or members of your caucus all of the applications for students for that committee. I'm going to break everyone up into breakout rooms right now. And this is going to be pretty long. I'm going to set aside 25 minutes right now at the start because I know that some caucuses have upwards of like more than like 10 to like a dozen applications that they need to review. But your task, caucus leaders, is to come out of this process with the one student nominee that you would like to sit on this committee to represent your college for the coming academic year. So please look over all of the applications, whether you want to screen share them, whether you want to email them to everyone else in your college. I tried to get them out as early as I could tonight, so I hope that you've had a chance to look at them already. But this is going to be an opportunity for all of you to discuss, to go over, and kind of select who you would like to have represent your caucus for the coming year. So before we go into breakout rooms, are there any questions about the task that you all have tonight? I'm going to ask that once you have selected who's going to represent you, to please email me directly so I have a copy of that, so we can know next week when we're appointing those members who you all have selected. So is everyone crystal clear on what they're about to do in their breakout rooms?
Nathan, I do have a question.
Yes, Madison.
Is someone allowed to serve on TFSC as well as like a standing committee?
Correct. Student senators are allowed to be on the Tuition Fee Strategies Committee. I know a few already did apply and will be considered tonight. If you applied, probably just inform your caucus and then please step out of the breakout room while they discuss and vote on that. I think that that's fair. But yes, Madison, Tuition and Fee Strategies Committee is like a different obligation, so someone is allowed to serve on that additionally as well. A bit of other information I guess I want to offer is that these meetings will be at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesdays for the coming year. And that's when those meetings will be. That's when that committee has historically met. Are there any other questions right now about selecting a member?
I do, sorry. I don't know what my chat is.
No, you're good. What's your question?
For people to decide who's going to be in the committee, are only the voting members of the caucus decide, of anybody that's on the caucus?
I have only split the breakout rooms for the voting members of each college caucus as of right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was a good question. Are there any other questions about this process right now while we're all together? Oh, the one other thing I do want to clarify is that anyone who is like a double major or was in like 2 different colleges, I sent to both colleges. I didn't know which preference they wanted to be considered for. So if your applicant has like 2 colleges that they're in, maybe have a backup option for who you select, just in case, like if arts and sciences and education have like a double major, for example. I think that would be just good to have. So with that, if everyone's ready, I should have the breakout room set up. I will verify that I have everything done, but I'm going to send you all off to your breakout rooms. We will meet back here at 8:40. So we have 25 minutes. If you're in the main room, feel free to take a break, take a short recess during this time right now. But this is a pretty important task that we have. So I look forward to seeing you all in 25 minutes. Caucus leaders, just shoot me an email once you've decided who your nominee will be. So see you all soon.
still have a big impact there.
Yeah.
I think if I run that by her and tell her, this is a good foot in the door for like some really cool things too, and maybe even like you running for Senate, because we would love to have more people running and whatnot as far as college ed goes. But yeah, I don't know. Can I switch to the next page? I don't know if you just want to skim through stuff.
That's good.
Oh, there's nothing on the next page. My bad. But
That's
it. So that's, yeah, Bob says no on her. Just because of college eds, he would like for them to be involved in more than one college. But I know we also have. Let me see if I can bring up the other one. Here's Ashley Elliott. But I was a big fan of her. I really was. Let's see. Cool. I think. Can you see that? Sick. Yep. And so then here's.
Hey there, guys. I just wanted to check in because I know that your caucus leader's not here. So I just wanted to check in and make sure that everything's going okay. You all received my email with the applications earlier this evening?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys just reading all of them right now?
Yeah, we were kind of going through them. We talked about the 3 and we knew a couple of them, and we were just kind of reading over their the stuff right now.
Okay, perfect. Feel free to take your time. I just wanted to make sure that you all were clear on what to do and that you had some direction.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, what's your question, Lane?
Okay, because Bryce, our caucus leader, isn't here, how do you want our pick to go?
I mean, you guys can vote on it. You can decide however, like you want to decide whether you all agree, if you want to do a formal vote, whatever you guys think works best. If Lane, if you just want to shoot an email to me and let me know, you guys
that's
pick,
fine.
That'll work for me. That'll be more than fine. Yeah.
Sweet.
As long as we have some way of getting it done. So.
Yep, that works.
Perfect. I just want to make sure everything was okay. So good luck, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. I think that everyone should have completed, either received an email from each caucus leader or everyone returned to the breakout room. So I think it'll all be completed. To let you know the next steps that I'll be taking on TFSC, specifically, I will be emailing all of the people that you selected just to verify with them that they'd like to be on Tuition and Fees Strategies Committee for the coming year. If they accept that placement, then they'll be on the legislation next week, placing them on the committee. So you'll see the full committee list at this time next week. If not, I'll be reaching back out to the caucus leader to let you know that they declined or something like that. I hope everyone accepts from the start, but just in case, I want to let you all the next steps that I'll be taking. So I appreciate all of your time and due diligence that you just spent in selecting those members. I hope you enjoyed the bit of a break from the agenda. So with that, we'll continue on with the rest of our meeting. After caucus time, we will now move into final action. We have one bill in final action this week, and that is Bill 9, removal of obsolete chapters from the KSU SGA statutes. It was sent back to us favorably from Senate Ops by a vote of 4-0 to 0. So with that, will the author of this legislation please come forward? Have any changes or corrections been made?
I don't believe so.
With that, you have first right to debate.
All right. This should be reasonably simple as opposed to the previous things I've submitted this year. But really, these are just some 3 different sections, 3 different groupings of chapters in the statutes that don't really make any sense to continue holding in the statutes, since they're from a very different time and in a very different context. And so in particular, there are the group that I would call the superseded group, which would be Chapter 3, Section 0302, and Chapter 5 as well. Those are both kind of superseded by the Policies and Procedures Manual, Chapter 8540, which is a legally controlling, administrative policy, which where it contradicts, and it doesn't contradict in too many places, but it does, and it supersedes those policies in the first place. And so those were added in 2017. I don't think we should have kept those positions that far. And the reason why, we used to have those similar rules in there is that a while back, we actually, Student Senate was kind of the group that approved registration of student organizations, and then over time that kind of went away from us, and I doubt we're getting that power back overall. So then Chapter 3, Section 0301, and then Chapter 61 as well are kind of the other kind of group, which are the stuff from 1967, really, or 1989. And so that stuff was just kind of randomly included in the statutes, and then it's never been removed. And I'm not really sure why that is. I just figured out when it was included. And so I don't believe that it makes sense to keep those things in there any longer. And then finally, there's the other sections of Chapter 03, which, again, are added long in the past and don't really make sense to continue being in there. And then finally, in the 2013 statutes, which I had downloaded last term, in fact, there were kind of annotations underneath each individual section, which stated that this section was passed on this date with this bill and any amendments to the section as well. And I found that way easier. It really helped me narrow down how to find the original bills that added those sections. And at some point between 2013 and 2018, I'm not entirely sure, since I don't have the statutes from that time. Those were removed, and I really found it helpful to have those in there. And so that's the third thing this bill does, is require the next person to officially edit them, to re-add those back to the sections of the bill that would have them from 2013, and then to add them to the new ones as well. And so I'll definitely help out with that, but I do want to make sure that those are back in there, so that if somebody in 20 years questions something that we did now that's in the statutes, they will know where to look. So I don't, I ask for your vote. Thank you.
With that, are there any questions for Chair Booz about his debate? Seeing none, thank you so much, Andrew. Is there any debate in the negative on this bill? Is there any more debate in the positive? Any more debate at all? Seeing none, we will now proceed into a roll call vote on Bill 9. Speaker Pro Tem Billman, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Just a reminder, your options are yes, no, pass, or abstain, and don't forget to vote for your proxies. With that, Atchison?
Yes by proxy.
Booz?
Yes.
Brown Alex? Brown Madison?
Yes.
Bruce? Brummett?
Yes by proxy.
Bruna? Burke?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Carr? Clements?
Yes.
Colburn?
Yes.
Cox? Croslow?
Yes.
De Santiago? Diaz de Leon?
Yes.
Dillevue?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Frederick? Gallardo?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Glasscock?
Yes.
Grills?
Yes.
Grillmus?
Yes by proxy.
Hamlin? Harmon? Hurd?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Hutchings?
Yes.
Jambudithin? Johnson? Kidd?
Yes.
Levi? Manners?
Manners is a yes.
Thank you. McKee?
Yes.
McVeigh?
Yes by proxy.
Muthukumar?
Yes.
Knoll?
Yes.
Norwood? Nunning?
Yes.
Panikatu?
Yes by proxy.
Phillips?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Richenberg?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rossi? Schmidt?
Yes.
Shunjay?
Yes by proxy.
Snyder Blaine?
Yes.
Snyder Ben?
Yes.
Vaughns?
Yes by proxy.
Wallace? Ward?
Yes.
Watkins? Wilcox?
Yes.
Willis?
Yes.
And Winholtz.
Yes.
And
All
then
right.
in the chat, there's both a yes from Bruce and then a yes from Harmon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anyone whose name I did not call? Okay. With that, Bill 9 passes 43 to 0.
Thanks so much, Maggie. With passage of Bill 9, we have now exhausted our legislative agenda for the evening. So we will now move into our second open period for the night. Are there any speakers for second open period? Speaker Pro Tem Billman.
Okay, does anyone else want to go first? Because I have the Senate shout outs. Okay. Let me pull this up. Okay. If anyone wants to turn on your camera for this part, I think, is that okay, Nathan?
That's more than fine.
Okay. So if you want to turn on your camera, do it. This will be fun. All right. So first off, we have to Lily Colburn. She is so valuable to have in SGA, and her commitment to being inquisitive makes us a better university. Yay, Lily. All right. Shout out to Chair Brown for putting in so much hard work and doing a fantastic job. Thank you, Madison. Woo. All right. Chair Booz for tirelessly sharing with us your love for election reform. I grant you this shout out. Congrats, Chair Booz. For Josh Diaz de Leon, your smile is incredible. Your teeth could shoot me dead in the street, and I would thank them for it. That's a good one. To Booz, will you please take me to prom in your 1968 Camaro? Another one to Lily. Your dad is awesome. I see where you get your moxie from. This one is to the College of Ed. You all rock. Teach dem kids. DEM is the spelling. And then shout out to the Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl and hopefully beating the Texans tonight. It's halftime and they're up 17-7, so go Chiefs. And then special shout out to all of our interns. You guys are the best. I'm gonna pause real quick. Clap for all the interns that are here with us. And then, will you marry me, Marta Richenberg? Please say yes, because I always screw up your last name. And then finally, another one to Lily. Shout out to Lily for working so hard and caring about students. And that concludes our Senate shout outs. So thank you all for submitting those. That was so fun.
So yeah, I know that Senate shout outs were dearly missed. Speaker Pro Tem Billman was really excited to bring them back. I think that we'll probably continue doing them in future weeks. So they can be SGA specific for something that happens during the meeting. They can be for something that happens during committees. It's just a way to add a bit of good cheer. It also looks like in the chat we have the definition for moxie being discussed right now in case you've missed it. With that, is there any other speakers for second open period this evening? Chair Colburn, you can have the floor.
First, thank you. I am also like my dad in that I would sometimes consider myself a boomer, so thanks for the education. But no, sorry, I just got distracted. I just wanted to come on and say, I know President Whitmer mentioned today that the faculty senate vote on the calendar proposal and their ultimate recommendation was to move spring break to be at the beginning of the semester. So that means we'll have 16 weeks of uninterrupted instruction, 5 days a week. I don't know about you, but that already sounds mentally exhausting. So a few of us from Senate Exec got together today before Senate to kind of talk about some things, and we're planning on writing a resolution. We've started writing a resolution asking the provost and different bodies to consider adding 2 different distinct days off during spring semester. So President Whitmer mentioned that. If you are interested in joining in on that conversation, being a co-author and giving some input, just let me know through the chat. You can send me an email. Anyhow, I'm pretty contactable, or ask a question here and just let me know is good too. So yeah, we're working on that. And I think that's all I have. Register to vote.
Are there any questions for Chair Colburn? Seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers this evening? Caucus Leader Phillips.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get this in before Maggie's, but I couldn't type fast enough. So one of the things, like I talked about last week, one of the things that I miss about in-person Senate is just kind of getting to hang out before and after Senate. And so I've decided to go ahead and just try hosting a Zoom meeting after just to chill and hang out. And so I'm going to drop the info in the chat. Especially, I don't know if we actually have any interns in here. I've been looking and I can't find them. But if there are any, please come. We'd love to get to meet you, especially since we can't really see you in person. But yeah, anyone's welcome to join. I'm going to be watching the Chiefs game and eating dinner. So nothing serious at all. But yeah, if you just want to talk about Senate, talk about the Chiefs, talk about literally anything, just come and hang out. So I'm going to put it in the chat, and thanks. Go Cats.
Are there any questions for Caucus Leader Phillips? Seeing none, are there any further second open period speakers this evening? Seeing none, we'll now continue on with the rest of our agenda. And for reference of legislation, we actually had nothing introduced tonight, so nothing is being sent to any committee. We did revise the statutes though, so we have 3 chapters that'll be deleted. With that, we'll now move into second roll call with Speaker Pro Tempore Billman.
All right. Atchison is excused, so Booz.
Here.
Brown Alex. Brown Madison.
Here.
Bruce.
Here. Sorry, here.
That's okay. Bruna. Burke.
Here.
Carlson.
Here, sorry.
That's okay. Carr. Clements.
Here.
Colburn.
Here.
Cox. Croslow.
Here.
De Santiago. Diaz de Leon.
Here.
Delavu.
Here.
Fox. Here. Frederick. Gallardo.
Here.
Garrett.
Here.
Glasscock.
Here.
Grills.
Here.
Gomez. Hamlin. Harmon.
Here.
Hurd.
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Hutchings.
Here.
Jambudithin.
Is here.
Thank you. Johnson. Kidd.
Here.
Levi. Manners.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
Muthukumar.
Here.
No.
Here.
Norwood. Nunnink.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Richenberg.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Rossi. Schmidt.
Here.
Snyder Ben.
Here.
Snyder Blaine.
Here.
Vaunts.
Here.
Wallace. Ward. Watkins. Wilcox.
Here.
Willis.
Here.
And Winholtz.
Here.
Okay, anybody whose name I didn't say, I have the chat open, so. Oh, Senator Ward is here, thank you. Okay, with that, there are 38 senators present. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Maggie. With roll call done, I'll now seek a motion for adjournment. Is there a motion? Looks like Cox Leader Kid moved to adjourn until next week, same time, same virtual place, #GoChiefs. That's been seconded by Chair Booz. Are there any objections? Seeing none, everyone have a great evening. I'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is there a Zoom room, like a separate one?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna start it. It is actually, hold on, I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, I see it. I see it. Sorry, I got a lot of messages.
Wait,
Oh,
what's
you're
the
good.
second Zoom room for?
It's
Just chilling and hanging out.
Is this our usual one?
I mean, I know there's a group of us that have been, but this one's just anyone who wants to come can.
Okay, I will copy it and I might be there in a little bit.
Sounds good. Goodbye,
Bye.
everyone.